Hello, this is Megalon from the Beat Saber modding group, and I'm here with an official intro tutorial for the Beat Saber level editor. Okay, here we are in the editor. This is a vertical timeline, which means that as time goes on, we're going to be moving up the screen. There are several different tracks that we can use here, and I'm going to be explaining more about what they all do later. The first thing that we need to do is click on this File button at the top right, and go down to Import Audio. I'm going to be choosing the song Beat Saber, which is built into the game. And now you can see that it loaded it here on the left. If I press the spacebar, it'll start playing. You can see that it's following along with the audio, but it doesn't seem to be matching the grid. And that's because the song's BPM does not match the editor's BPM. All we have to do is go over here to this little music note button and set the proper value here. I happen to know it's 166 for this song. You might have to look yours up or maybe use like a tap tempo if you can't find it online. So now it should match the grid. You can see right there on the second beat, that's when the music kind of kicks in, which seems correct. If your song doesn't start immediately like this one does, you can use an offset over here. You can see it just moves the audio file down. This is in milliseconds. Just going to reset this back to 0. From here we can also pick which type of beat map we want to make. So if you wanted to make like a one saber or no arrows map, and what difficulty you wanted to choose. I'm just going to do standard expert for now. So now that we have the audio set up, we can actually start editing this track. You can see that there are 5 different columns here. This one on the far left is for lighting events. These 3 in the center here are for the blocks that you would see in the game. And then this one on the far right is for the walls and ceilings that you have to dodge. So let's talk about the blocks here. Here we have the base notes, which are going to be the blocks that are on the bottom layer. The upper notes, which are the ones that are about at eye level. And then the top notes, which are going to be above your head. So this is just split into 3 different sections in the game. And here we have it laid out into 3 different columns. So if we wanted a block that's on the left side, but in the center, that would be this lane here. Let's say maybe we want to put it right at that second beat, right when the music kicks in. So since it's on the left side and at the start of the song, I'm going to do a red downswing. So just go over here to this edit button, and here we have the note parameters for the note that we're going to place. We want down and we want red. So then I'm going to go back over here and just left click. It's left click to place a block and right click to delete. And now, right when it hits the second beat here, we're going to be able to see this block. Let's put a blue one next to it, and then I'm just going to test the beat map in the game. But I have my headset sitting on the ground, so it's going to be kind of a low perspective. See, it looks like that worked. And so when we click on this button, it starts wherever the playhead is. So if I put it right here and click test, it just starts right in front of it. And then when we come back into the editor, it puts us back in exactly where I paused. So if I let it play out, I would end up here somewhere. And if I say wanted to edit this section, I can just click test beat map right here. Which is handy, you don't have to play through the start of the level to jump ahead. Alright, so let's make a basic pattern here. Since we swung it down before, I'm just going to swing back up. Let's go blue first, and then red, and then maybe back down with blue, and back down with red. Now, if we just wanted to copy and paste this, you can go over to this button up here, and click on copy and paste. We want 2 bars here. But it's not going to let us copy anything because no columns are selected. All we have to do is just click on the column that we want to copy, and then click on copying. Alright, and then I'll just scroll up here, and click on paste, and there we go. If you decide that you don't actually want that, you can just undo it with either this button here, or Control Z works as well. So this is going to be a pretty basic pattern. we are staying on the bottom row here. We can make this a little bit more interesting by maybe adding some obstacles. If we want to put some walls on either side, that's over here. This is the full height obstacle, which is just a wall, and then you can choose the length here. So let's put one on either side and then see what it looks like in the game. You can see there that it just had a wall on both sides as expected. And then if we wanted to put a ceiling, maybe let's just put one here just for fun. You can see it works as expected. If you want to delete this, you can delete it in sections, which would leave kind of a channel in the center, like that. And if you wanted to make it shorter, you would have to adjust this length of obstacle here. So if you wanted somebody to duck quickly like that, that's what you would do. So let's say that we want to place some bombs as well. That's pretty easy. It's this button over here. And then you just click in the editor where you want to place it. It works just like the blocks. And now there should be a bomb on either side there. And let's say that we don't want everything to be on the bottom row. We maybe want to swing up when we get to these two here. All we would have to do is move those over to this top row and then delete the ones on the bottom. But let's say that we don't delete those and we leave them there. What do you think is going to happen? You end up with this stack of blocks. Since these layers are all on top of each other, it's going to show both of them. So if I put some blocks here in the same position, it's going to be a stack of 3. Like that. Which doesn't really fit the music, but it's just an example. So at this point, I probably want to actually playtest this and see how it feels. Alright, so that felt a little bit slow to me. Since this is an expert map, we can change the speed that the blocks are moving here in the note speed parameter. Let's make this like 14. The max is 20, so this is probably going to feel pretty good. From here, we also have some additional options. If we wanted to zoom in and get a finer control over what we're doing, we can change the size of the grid with these buttons up here. Also, if you wanted to change how far away the blocks are spawning, you can adjust this between 0 and 1. Alright, so now we probably want to try and make this a bit more interesting. This is a pretty powerful intro here, so maybe we want to swing through 2 blocks instead of just 1. We can do that by stacking these on top of each other just like this, and then when we go and test it, you can see they're stacked up like that. Be careful with the central lane here. These two in particular are known as vision blocks because it will block whatever is behind it. So if you don't have enough space until the next block, people will not be able to see it and they won't be able to react in time. In this case, I think this is enough room. When you cut through these, you should be able to see this one right behind it. Let's move on and maybe add a couple more just to show off the center lane here. Oh, that should actually be over here. And then maybe we'll swing back down onto the bottom row again. And I think I'll maybe put a ceiling right there. So you would have to duck down. Let's see what that looks like. So this is all pretty basic, but I think this is a good foundation to work off of. Alright, now let's talk about lighting events, this whole big track over here. You may have noticed that when we start the map, it's all blue in the background. If we wanted it to be all black, we can select this off event here and just go through all the lights and turn everything off. See, we probably want the lights to turn back on when the music kicks in. So maybe let's pick red and find one of these that we like. Let's do the back top and maybe the bottom lights and just see what that looks like. If we wanted them to flash, there is an option for that. Flash the lights and then turn them off. So these two here, the left lights and the right lights, are going to be the lasers in the background. You can see they were on briefly and then turned off. Let's maybe switch this up a bit and do something like, do something like this instead. And also let's make the lasers rotate slowly. So these two tracks over here are for rotating those background lights. You can actually control this as it goes along. So if you wanted to speed it up and then make it stop again, you can do that. Maybe we could start off with the background lights as blue and rotating slowly. Looks a bit odd, but this is just a demonstration after all. There are these two other tracks here. One is for rotating those rings that you see in the background. The other is for expanding and compressing them. Those are the only options that we get here, so there's no reason to select either of those. You just have it selected automatically. And just to demonstrate, I'm just going to place a bunch of these. And you should see it kind of acting like an accordion in the background there. It's a bit hard to see it moving around. Let's skip ahead. Maybe up here. So those are the basics of that. Obviously there's a lot you can do with this. You can sync it to what your arms are doing. You could sync it to maybe the lyrics, or just sync it to the song in general. So we have a basic beat map and we are ready to save it. Let's go ahead and enter some additional information, like the song name. This is some subtext, if maybe the song was featuring somebody. The author of the song. And then the level author, which is me. Now let's pick a cover image. And we can select which environment we want to see in the game. I'm going to pick the KDA environment, that one's pretty cool. And then from here we can save as. I already have one saved, but I'm just going to go ahead and overwrite it. And then finally we can export the map, assuming that we have the distribution rights for the audio data. There you go, it's the .bsl format. And you're done. So if you want to look at an example of a finished beat map, there is one included in the game. If you go to Open and then click on Beat Saber Built In, you can see the level that is actually used in the base game. And here we are on the Expert difficulty. We can switch over to Expert Plus. We can also do Easy, Normal, and Hard. You can even see the One Saber map, but you'll notice that on Expert Plus there's nothing because this is actually Expert. It's the one that's included in the game. And so if you say were to be on normal and then just you don't see anything, just make sure that you have the correct difficulty selected. So if I could leave you with one final piece of advice here, try and playtest your map as much as you can. Getting feedback is an essential part of the process. Have other people playtest it for you and try to talk to other mappers in the community to find out what works and what doesn't. There's a lot of helpful people out there, and there are plenty of other resources available online.